Welcome to Alligator Preserves, everyone. I am your host, Laurel McHargue, and I have two wonderful women with me today with a book that they created together that is just going to absolutely delight you. Today's guests are Susan Gluck and Barbara McGould. Welcome, ladies, to Alligator
Thank
Preserves.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here.
Oh, I am happy that you are here too. And I'm in Salida, Colorado. Are you in Colorado as well?
We're in Greenwood Village, Colorado, which is outside of Denver.
Right up the road from me. All right. So first of all, I want to ask you to how you met.
We met when we moved into the same building, and I had been here before. We were at a social event with our husbands, and we were talking about high altitude baking. And I knew how to do that to the extent that I can. And Barbara took the tips from me because she had moved from Florida, and we've been bonding over baking forever since.
There's a book. There's your next book, Bonding Over Baking. And I know the challenges of high level baking. Not that I was ever really much of a baker. I was the mother who would buy a pound bag of chocolate chips to make chocolate chip cookies for the boys. And then somehow the chocolate chips would disappear and there'd be no cookies. So
In addition to being a wonderful author, I also introduced my friend Susan as my friend, the master baker. Because anything she bakes is fantastic.
It might be a slight exaggeration, but
well, I know it is challenging. And for those listeners and viewers out there who don't know, when baking at elevation, which is pretty much over 5,000 feet elevation, Florida zero, you're right there on the ocean.
Yeah, I know. I went from the frying pan to the fire, so I definitely needed instructions.
Yeah. So is there a key? Is there a trick? Is it more baking powder? Is it more?
I know on boxed mixes, okay, they always tell you to add 2 more tablespoons of flour and a little bit more water at any elevation over 5,000 feet.
All right.
But on things from scratch, you reduce the sugar, you reduce the baking soda and the baking powder.
Okay. All right.
Because the first time I ever baked cookies here, they were crystallized, like complete hard sugar inside. So I learned that very quickly.
Oh my goodness.
So that's the trick.
And we lived in Leadville for 12 years before coming here, which is why I'm, Leadville, Laurel, even though I live in Salida now. But yeah, that's over 10,000 feet elevation. So I think, I think I just decided I wasn't going to try to bake. But
right.
So Barbara, I first met you through your son, Chuck McGould, because he is a West Point classmate of mine. Not that I really knew him at West Point, but I think he was in probably all of my husband's classes because your last name is McGould. Our last name is McHargue. Well, mine was Bernier at the time. So the Army tends to like to do things alphabetically, put the people together alphabetically. So McGould and McHargues, I think, were together quite a bit. So when I got that notification from your son saying, "Hey, I hear you do books and you do podcasts, and my mom has a book with a friend of hers, and what do you think?" And I thought, oh, this is great.
And I was delighted when I received, your email and the instructions. And I just thank Chuck, my son, and you both for having us and for giving us this opportunity to showcase our little book.
Well, you're absolutely welcome. And what we're going to be talking about today is your little book called From Zero to Hero. Now, this little book, and when I first saw the title, From Zero to Hero, I thought it might have something to do with Army because, again, but the West Point connection. But it's not. It's about finding your value in the number zero, not knowing what her value is. So I want to start with your dedication. Your dedication is to all our greats and grands. And I love that dedication. So how many do you have between the two of you? Or how many each do you have?
I have 4 grandchildren and 1 on the way. So 4.5.
And I have 13 grandchildren and 1 great grandchild.
So youngest is how old?
My youngest is 4 months old.
Oh.
And my oldest is going on 34.
Oh my goodness.
That's her
Yikes.
grand.
That's my,
your-
that's
that's
your-
my grand, the great grandbaby is the 4-month-old. And then from 19 to 34 for the grandchildren.
All right. Well, I am going to be a grandma for the first time in February. I'm
It's
very
the best.
excited. And so here's a question for you. And again, we'll get you a book, but I want to talk about the grandmother thing now, right now. So what do your grandchildren call you?
Oh, mine call me grandma.
Half of mine call me grandma and half of mine call me marm. And that's another story. And then they decided for my great grandchild, I am Gigi for great grandma.
All right. All right. I love those all. And I have no idea.
What are you thinking of?
For
Well,
yourself.
Well, I really loved my Nana, but my daughter-in-law's mother is a nanny, so I thought, well, maybe something else. And we were kind of kicking around the idea of a Meemaw, even though I never saw myself as a Meemaw. But if you say Meemaw McHargue, it's kind of funny. So who knows? Who knows? I'm basically told that the child will call me what the child wants to call me, and I'll love it, whatever it is. So back to your book, because that's what we're really talking about, in addition to being grandparents. Because again, you wrote this, I think, to teach some lessons. So, Susan, the idea of this book is for Zero to discover her talent and worth, right?
Yes.
Because
yes.
if you think if you say someone's a zero, kind of means they're nothing, right? You think of zero,
Right.
you think of nothing.
Right.
So how did talk to me about this idea, finding zero's worth? How did the idea of finding worth come to you?
I first wrote the story of Zero when I was in my 20s. I've always loved children's literature. I always wanted to write a children's book, a picture book, even though I have no illustrative skills. And I wrote the story of Zero and I sent it off to a publisher, and it didn't get accepted. And I put it in a drawer for many, many years. And then when my grown daughter and I were talking about it several years ago, she said, Mom, you should write it as a poem because you love writing poems. And I thought I should do that. But then I put it off for a while. And then last year I asked Barbara, because I knew her as an artist, if she would like to illustrate it. And she got very excited. And so when she committed to doing that, then I had to write it. And I'm much wiser than I was in my 20s about self-esteem and children. And I noticed as my children were growing and in elementary school, particularly in high school, that anyone who celebrated their strengths brought them along much more fully than people who didn't. And I appreciated that so much when there were teachers. There was a principal in particular who I could see that she's zeroed in on every student in the school and celebrated what they did best. And so I've had that idea in the back of my mind for a long time. Now I've been reading books to my grandchildren and know more about this concept of your superpower is much more today's concept. And so I just decided to incorporate some of those old ideas with some of these newer concepts.
All right. And so may I ask, was Dr. Seuss influential in your rhyming of this story? Because it is Seuss-ish, if I may say.
I used to call myself Dr. Susan when I would write
Oh, that's good.
holiday poems every year. I was thinking about this yesterday. I really was influenced by A.A. Milne. My mother read A.A. Milne poems to me as a child, and I loved A.A. Milne. And certainly Dr. Seuss is somebody whom I admire greatly for the cleverness, the humor.
Yeah.
I really like both of those aspects to any children's writing. And something that's a wink to the adults as well, because I think when you read a book, I learned this, I was a librarian, and I learned in storytelling classes that you should always pick something that you really enjoy reading. And I like humor, and I just love cleverness. So I tried to bring out those things here.
You absolutely did it. I mean, each of the numbers that Barbara illustrated, and I'll talk to you about the illustration in a minute. They all have a different outlook on life and outlook on themselves. You know, the number 5 gives a high five as Zero's rolling along, trying to find her worth. We get to number 7, and oh my gosh, number 7 is a rapper. An rapper. I am going to ask you, Susan, I have to. Will you read me part of number 7's rap?
Sure. Can Barbara show you the illustration?
Yes.
while I read?
Yes. And if you
I
need a
must
little,
say, rapping is not my talent. If I had a beat in the background, it would be so much better.
well,
but-
maybe I could do the beat.
I did ask Barbara after she did the 7 whether she would put sunglasses on him. So that was, I did very little, gave her very little. Okay. 0 continued around the next bend, still searching for answers. Would her quest ever end? Just ahead in an arbor, a 7 was munching. Yo, called the 7, please join me for lunching. 0 took from her pack all the food she had made and sat beside her newest friend in the shade. She explained, I am traveling today with a mission. To discover my talent is my one ambition. Check it out, said the 7. I've got something to say. Are you cool with me rapping this communique? Now listen up closely and don't miss a word. I'll be dropping some knowledge that you've never heard. 7 days every week is the way we keep track. 7 colors in a rainbow make a beauteous stack. 7 seas to explore if adventures you seek. 7 vast continents, each one unique. 7 wonders of the world, their beauty hypnotic. 7 notes in a scale that make music melodic. As the envoy of wisdom and balance and luck, I can guarantee 7 will get you unstuck.
I love it. Thank you. So Barbara, 7 leaves her purse. I mean, 0 leaves her purse in number 7's forest. Did you do that on purpose? That's the last time we see 0 with a purse.
Well, she had unpacked it.
She had unpacked it. And actually, there's a little story because we had to put the purse in to 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And then she leaves the purse off because she's finished her lunch. So.
Oh, all right. All right. There was some mystery there. You might not even have realized what you did there, but there's a mystery.
And 7 is going to recycle everything for her.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. See, you got to follow on here. You got to follow on. You could do a follow on with each of the numbers and what they do after they discover the value of 0. Oh my gosh. All right. That's just an idea. That's an idea. You don't have to take it. I think 8 gives the best encouragement, and I love the 8 ball. And of course I love the octopus, because octopuses are kind of in some of my writing, and they're amazing and wonderful. So I really like number 8, but some of the numbers are kind of snarky, right? I mean, particularly starting with numero uno.
Right,
and,
the best.
And yeah, I'm not sure if you intended to do this, but you know, there's some encouragement, but there's also some chattiness, there's some self-centeredness, there's some kind of distractedness, being disinterested in 0's quest, because some of the other numbers are doing their own thing and loving who they are and what their superpowers are. So you could really, I mean, there's a lot going on in this little book, and I'm wondering if any of those lessons, you know, come up when you're reading this to kids.
Well, we have not read it to that many children. My granddaughter particularly pointed out she thought the 3s were very mean.
Oh, they were.
Which is funny.
They were.
But they just didn't even see 0 there. I mean, I didn't intentionally think that the 3s were mean, just very self-centered.
Yes.
When my first draft of the poem I gave to my daughter, and she felt that some of the numbers were too mean. And she didn't want her children modeling the language that I was presenting. So I toned those numbers way back. I mean, it was valid input. So they were snarky. I think they were really even snarkier in the original version, but she had a good point. But it is interesting when you read it to the smaller kids, they're more black and white. They're more, these people were mean, these people were nice, you know?
Yeah.
So
And-
yeah, but I was fun to, the computer is a great help in helping you find characteristics of each number.
Okay.
I mean, you know, you can look up what are phrases that are associated with twos, and you know, you can get that on the computer. And so it was fun finding those out and selecting which ones to put into the poem.
And the bottom line, as I mentioned, that there's the way more going on in here than just, you know, a little story about numbers. You know, people are snarky and self-centered and distractible. And so these are actually real life lessons.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, not only for children, for all ages.
Yes. And even for the parents reading them, I would imagine. So Barbara, the artwork, watercolor, tell me how you did the artwork in this. Are you a watercolorist?
Well, I followed Susan's wonderful poem. And as you said, as you pointed out, each of the numbers have pretty much a different personality. And the number symbols, you know, are set, you know, in history. So I didn't have to do anything with the numbers, but it was the background and the mood. And like in number 4, I got a bit edgier because she was kind of nasty I got more stylistic. And then the 6s, you know, I had to get a hexagon to, you know, emphasize that there were 6. And then 7 with the, you know, Susan said, I'd like to have glasses on that number 7. And then I added a baseball cap. And but no, it was just a barrel of fun from beginning to end to, you know, just come up with the concept. And as I said, I followed the path that Susan led.
So are these watercolor, or how did you create the art?
No, this is with a software package named Sketchbook. And
Oh,
it came on my 9-year-old Apple iMac.
oh, you're kidding.
And that's what it was created on. And I had kind of a heart-stopping moment in September or October. The software froze on me. So I
Oh.
couldn't go back and edit. Like I
Oh.
couldn't put the sunglasses on 7.
Oh,
And
no.
but anyhow, figured it out, and about maybe 2 weeks later, continued on my merry way. And I really like the last 2 particularly because it kind of ties it together. When 9 and 0 just grow, you know, and get to be 10 times their size, and then 0 is so happy going home, and you know, all the Susan's word, Google of numbers, line the road to, you know, just give them high fives. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I can tell that was fun. And now I'm going to say the artwork I find is a little bit trippy. So Barbara, I'll ask, were you kind of a hippie?
Probably a little bit in the 60s. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? And as a dear friend said to me, I'm a New Yorker. And so every once in a while, my New York comes out.
Well, I'm originally from Boston. And so occasionally, if I have problems with my car, like where I'm going to park it, that might come out. But for the most part, I've lost most of my accent since I moved away.
No, I love color, and I knew it would be for young children. Although, again, the message is for anyone to find their value. And it was just delightful to the whole process. So
We had a good time.
It is delightful. And so you work together, you know, on the artwork, obviously. Barbara, did you help with any of the lyrics, the rhymes, the storyline? No, the story was done.
110% Susan. No, as I said, I had a roadmap and I just followed the words. And then, you know, the artwork was just pure fun.
I think we felt from the beginning that I mean, I asked for a lot of input on the poem. I sent it out to maybe 20 people for input.
Yeah.
But I felt that the artwork was Barbara's, you know, It was a
Domain.
domain. Thank you for the word. And and she never gave me any criticism. I mean, I asked for the sunglasses. I had the idea of giving number one, that we've been to a lot of games where we've had those things, and the 8-ball. We would talk about those things. Like I wanted to make sure that the octopus had number 8 had a place in the final scenes where the octopus could be in the water. So those were the kinds of things that I had no way of creating what Barbara could create. And I was just so delighted because her artwork brought the whole thing to life.
We're a
it's-
good team. We collaborate.
You
very
are a
well.
good team. It's fun, it's vibrant, it's catchy, it's amazing. Now, Barbara, do I understand that you want to donate part of the proceeds from sales from Zero to Hero to Wounded Warriors Foundation?
As I said, my son was very instrumental with that agency, and they really deserve all the help that they can get, because they don't get any governmental help. It's all private. So it's Wounded Warriors, and they do very good work.
Well, thank you for that. As a veteran myself, and my husband's a veteran, and our oldest son is currently in the military. So we appreciate any support that you can give our soldiers. So will you work together on more projects? Now that I gave you several ideas about, each one having its little.
Oh, I hope so.
Barbara would like to. I'm just so happy to have it completed. We self-published it on Amazon, and that was a big challenge in itself for me
Susan did all of that
to figure that process out. So I'd like to rest for a while. But now I know how to do it, so I guess we could.
Yeah.
And you wrote the original story back when in your 20s, you said.
Yes.
Are you writing other things? Do you have other works in progress?
I have been writing poems, but they're really more, for decades, but they're really more personal, they're about the family, or they're about somebody's retirement or whatever. So I can write a poem about just about anything if I have an idea, but I need an idea. So
you can always publish a collection, by the way.
Wow.
You could, and even if it's just for your family,
I would like to do that. I have my poems from when I was 8 years old, and no one would appreciate them other than my family. So you have yours too.
I do. No,
Yes.
I do. My 5th grade teacher was the best. She was the best. She would bring us on field trips, would go out into the field behind our school, and she'd have us lay down in the grass, and we'd, look through the grass, and then we'd look up the clouds, and then we'd have to write poems about what we experienced. She was a hippie. She was definitely hippie. She was wonderful. Loved her. She probably gave me my first boost for my writing, and been writing ever since. But so, Barbara, where else can we find your artwork? Because my mom was a prolific painter in many different genres, as was her cousin, and she never did anything specific with them other than give all of her 5 daughters her works, and so we have them in our house. And where are your works?
I ran out of space. So that's one reason that I went to sketchbook, and because then it's just collected in the cloud somewhere. But my daughter, I have a daughter, Mary, in San Jose, and she has most of my work now, from 4 books of just sketches and acrylics, and that's so yeah.
You're gonna keep.
I donate to some agencies during the year.
Excellent. Excellent. Susan, what's your favorite number?
Oh, in the book or in general?
In general.
I think 21 is my favorite number, but that's not in the book. So I have to write a book about 21.
Tell me why. Tell me why. Why 21?
Well, my birthday. I like numbers divisible by 7. So maybe 7. Maybe we'll get to 7.
All right. The rapper. It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
favorite number in the book is, I don't have a favorite. Mothers
Oh.
are not supposed to have favorites.
I know. I know. Oh, my
Because my-
children.
Mine is 90. I like that they,
Oh, that's your favorite
Nine
number in the book.
in
It's
the
not your
book.
favorite number.
no, since my
I was
favorite
gonna-
number is 90 because 9 helped 0 find, her true value and, just everything positive. So
Everything positive. I
that was my
love it.
favorite number in the book.
And then out of the book, do you have a favorite number?
Oh, 7.
Okay. All
7.
right. The
Here we
the
go.
seventh.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Yeah.
two of you ought to go on tour together and as rappers.
Oh, I think that career would be very short-lived.
I don't know. I don't know. With the
We
way
have a
things,
one-night stand. I think.
I can see you two going viral.
Oh, can you? Well, if we do,
It's thanks to you.
it's thanks to you, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, are there any other things that you would like our viewers and our listeners to know about your book, about raising children, about life, because you're both so wise?
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, I do think I remember that when my children were going to be in high school, someone advised me to, help them find their passion, help them find what they're good at. And I think that's true for all of us. We have to celebrate the positive and not be so negative in our world. Be happy,
Yeah.
Don't worry, be happy.
yeah, don't worry. But I mean, be appreciative of the good in others and the traits that they have that are stellar.
Mhm.
We all have them.
Yep.
Barbara?
Yeah, no, and one of my favorite sayings was, you can get much more with honey than with vinegar. And to be nice and rather than being mean, and to think of the other person first and put yourself in their footprints. So,
Yeah, because
There
we
you
don't
go.
know. We don't know what other people's journeys are and what they've
or
experienced.
what they're going through.
Yeah, why they might want to pass you at 1,000,000 miles an hour on the road. We just we don't know. And one realization I had when I was at West Point, and I thought I was going to leave because it was not easy, and I was pretty miserable there. And it was very easy to focus on the negative every day because there was a lot to complain about. And it just dawned on me one morning, my sophomore year, that I had to change my focus. I had to change my perspective. I had to find something in each day that could make me smile or could make me happy. Find one positive thing in each day. And so that became my new focus rather than the easy part of just complaining about everything. So, yeah.
That's great.
That's
Yeah. Well, viewers and listeners out there, we have just had a lovely visit with Susan Gluck and Barbara McGould about their book From Zero to Hero, and about life and raising children and grandchildren and saving the world and everything and all the lessons that come in this little book. And I would highly encourage you to support these two wonderful women by buying their book on Amazon. Yes,
Yes.
From Zero to Hero. And because, as you mentioned in the book, for no one on earth is inconsequential. And again, that's another message that I just absolutely loved here. So,
Thank you.
ladies, thank you so much for being with me today. Listeners, viewers, you can find show notes with links and photos on my website at leadvillelaurel.com. Please get this little book. Today I'll have a link for it. And ladies, keep writing, keep being wonderful and spreading fabulous positive messages to your children and anybody else you can come across.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.